got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
Welcome to Around the Turnbuckle. I'm Big Al. Conspicuous by his absence is our mystery co-host. He may or may not join us, but if he doesn't, it's not a big deal. Because I have with me tonight the voice of Three Legacies Wrestling, Chris O'Mealy. What's up, my man?
How's it going? Thanks for having me tonight. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Now, for those tuning in live here tonight, I am having bad weather in the area. I have thunderstorms going on, so I keep cutting in and out on Chris. He is not cutting in and out on me, though, so I hope everybody's receiving me. Our mystery person will remain anonymous because if he shows up, it's a big surprise. But otherwise, I will reveal said person at the end of the show if said person never shows, because he told me to do so. He told me to out him online, so I got permission to cut into somebody, Chris. All right, Chris. So tell us a little bit about your journey as far as professional wrestling goes. I know that you've done other things. You could start there. You could start wherever you want to start. But like, how did you how did you lead up to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so my journey in wrestling started back in college. I had just completed my first year of school, and I wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't taking it all too seriously. I went to a community college, and I did all of my gen eds and everything. We could do a whole separate podcast on how gen eds in college is a bunch of crap. Hey, am I allowed to swear on this show? Because I might swear a couple of times.
Yes, you are.
Okay,
I am rated for
okay.
Mature audiences, sir.
Okay, that's okay. I'll try not to, but just in case I want to cut a promo on anything, college gen eds would be
most guys do.
So completed the first year and didn't really know what direction I wanted to go with my life at that point. At the time, we used to watch the WWE pay-per-views at my buddy's girlfriend's house, who was right down the road from me. My old friends Pat and Jason were going to the same school as I was. And one of those pay-per-views, one of the summer events, we're just hanging out. You know, we got the pizza and everything. We're watching wrestling, and I'm kind of just venting, like, I don't know what to do and everything. And they're like, well, we just started taking broadcasting classes. We're going to be broadcasting majors. Maybe that would be something you're more interested in. And that sounded kind of cool, like TV production and everything. So I decided to give that a whirl. So fast forward to August, we go and we do our very first day in class. Hello, Christopher. Say hi to you. Do our first day in class. And me and my two friends are sitting in the back of the room with another gentleman. And it's a really, really small class. So, hey, David. I'll say hi to all your guesses there. Comments come up. So we're sitting in the back of the classroom, and the professor.
Oh yeah, they'll pop up here and there. I don't want to.
I'll still say hi to him. My professor's like, yeah, it's a really small class. There's only a couple of us, so let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. And he starts with the gentleman sitting with my buddies in the back, and he goes, "Hi, my name is John Salinas, and I'm a professional wrestler." And me and my two buddies do the really slow, like, head turn to the side, like, huh? What did he just say? And yeah, that's how I met John Salinas, who at the time wrestled as Johnny Toxic. And obviously we became friends almost immediately because we were all wrestling people. So we spent the semester BSing and working on projects together. And we would talk about what John's journey in wrestling was like. He trained at the IWF in New Jersey, the Independent Wrestling Federation, ran by Kevin Knight, not the AEW Kevin Knight. This is an older guy, but Kevin Knight's school was famous for producing Jay Lethal and Darren Young. And I'm trying to think who else specifically came out of that school that everybody would know. Joey Image, who if you know Joey Image, you're laughing, and if you don't know Joey Image, that's even funnier. So we were chat about everything with wrestling, and I would always ask John about what training was like and how he got involved. And I thought it would be really cool to do something in wrestling, but I was never an athlete. I didn't have the athletic prowess, nor did I really think I had the ability to become a good wrestler. So I was always looking at other roles, maybe manager or commentator would be more appropriate. And John goes, I could see you doing something like that. Why don't you come up to the school with me sometime and I'll show you around? Okay, sounds like a plan. So at the time, John was taking, I guess taking
Absolutely.
classes isn't an appropriate way of saying it, but John was training at Backbreakers Academy, which at the time was in Pittston, Pennsylvania, and it was ran by Johnny Glitter back when it was associated with the World Star Wrestling Federation. So John brought me up there on a Wednesday night in December near the end of the semester, and I got to meet Johnny Glitter for the first time. And for those of you out there who don't know who Johnny Glitter is, he is a total walking throwback to 1980s pro wrestling. He is exactly like you would want an old wrestling veteran to look and sound like. He has the Paul Heyman, Hulk Hogan skullet, so he had nothing up here, but really long blonde hair in the back. At the time, he had it in dreadlocks, which was really funny to run into. And he kind of talked like this here. He would be very careful on how he enunciated all of his words, Big Al. And he would be like, hello, Big Al. And he would refer to you as Big Al all the time there, you see. And he loved the word gimmick. Everything was a gimmick to him. Oh, move that gimmick over there. When you drop the gimmick, and you had to kind of translate all that into wrestle speak. But the garage, the school operated out of a garage in Pittston, Pennsylvania, in a real shithole part of town, which I always got a kick out of because that's how all great wrestling start. Oh my God. Oh yeah. It was like a warehouse industrial garage. So it was a really deep bay that they translated into a wrestling school. So there was the ring all the way in the back, and then the walls were just covered in the old school style cardboard posters with just the names and maybe like one or two photos, but the old printout, which I still love, and I still wish that they did that, and I would love to bring that back at some point. And then there was a little lounge area for tape study, a little workout area, Glitter's desk, and that was just about it. I'm actually trying to think now if there was even a bathroom in that place. I don't think there was. There might have been like a porta-john or something, or you just pissed in a bush. I can't actually remember now. But we chatted and everything, and he had gone over pricing, and I didn't exactly have the money because, again, I'm a college student. I'm not working. I'm broke, and I'm still living at home. So I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to train, but, thank you for meeting me and everything, and I'd like to come back and see more of this. So I spent the next couple of months going every Wednesday night, which was training night, and would just go there and hang out and learn and ask questions and observe and take photos and videos and run errands and, little stuff like that. So we're now this is 2005. So we're in about March, April-ish, right? And one day Glitter pulls me aside and he says, listen, I know you've been coming here for the past couple months. I can tell you're serious about this. We need somebody to do backstage correspondence. We've got a show coming up in April. Would you like to do that? Absolutely, I would. Okay, great. We're going to start training you. So I started learning how to be an announcer in professional wrestling. Now, at the time, there was a guy wrestling there who wrestled under the name Dorian DeVille, and he had just gotten signed to OVW. Hello, Zach. Dorian DeVille would later go on to be Luke Gallows, by the way. So he was on his way to OVW.
Okay.
This was going to be basically his farewell tour. And then he was going to go to the big time. So I had an interview segment with him. I had an interview segment with a prominent female wrestler. I unfortunately don't remember her name at this time. But she was prominent in that era. And then I had like two other interview segments. I think one of them was with Justin Glory, who was their champion. And the other one was with Sweet Bobby G, who was the challenger. Bobby G was somebody who came out of Johnny Rod's school. And Justin Glory was basically Johnny Glitter's student trainer, Whereas Glitter couldn't get in the ring and do the physical stuff, Glory was the person who did that. Glory would later take back Breakers, form his own promotion, and I got to work for him for a couple of years. Really good guy. Published author, by the way. So there's his shout out. But so I'm learning how to do all this stuff. I know what my segments are, and I'm learning poise and cadence and how to hold the microphone properly. Like all the stuff you would want to learn to be a good wrestling announcer. A lot of stuff that you wouldn't even think of, but a lot of Mean Gene-ish type stuff would come in, and I would watch a lot of Mean Gene interviews. He was kind of the main study that I did. I'd watch other people too, but it was mostly Mean Gene or and some old school like WCW stuff, like when Tony Schiavone would do the backstage interviews. So we're doing all this study and everything, and the April show gets canceled. Well, it's independent wrestling, so my debut was not going to happen. Not at that show, at least. But as I pretty much learned, it's a thing that happens. You move on to the next one. Okay, next show's coming up in May anyway. No big deal. So we're getting ready for May. We're going through everything. I got a different set of interviews now. The show was on a Wednesday or a Saturday in May. It was May 14th. That Wednesday before, so a few days before the show, I go to the school and Glitter says, "Hey, so our ring announcer backed out. We need a ring announcer. So you're going to be the ring announcer for this show." Okay, that's a whole different set of training. Yep. So we're going to teach you how to be a ring announcer tonight, and you debut on Saturday. So I went from weeks of backstage training to having to be the ring announcer, and I had 3 days to prepare.
Yep.
But it all worked out. May 14th, 2005, in the Matamoros Firehouse in Matamoros, Pennsylvania. The literal northeast of Pennsylvania, by the way, folks. If you look it up on the map, it borders Port Jervis, New York, and Montague, New Jersey. It is the corner of
exactly where you are, right where all three states meet.
In the firehouse, in front of maybe 100 people, including my parents and a few friends, I debuted as the ring announcer for World Star Wrestling. And I remember a lot of things that night. I remember the main event was Justin Glory and Bobby G in a non-title match, which Bobby G won, which earned him a title match at the next show. It was a mixture of Johnny Rod's crew, a bunch of kids from Maryland. My buddy John, I got to see him actually wrestle a match for the first time against El Shoes. Joe, I know you're still out there. I know he's doing stuff in Florida, so shout out to you. And they ran some really funny, in retrospect, indie angles, like Shoes got arrested after his match for no reason other than to pop the fans. Glitter came out on a cell phone. This is like 2005, so this is like an old school flip phone, and acted like he was talking to Vince McMahon. We can't talk right now, Vince McMahon. We're live in Matamoros, Pennsylvania. Listen to these people. And, he maybe got 20 people to cheer. Cheesy indie wrestling stuff. But I had an absolute blast with it. And I got to be ring announcer for Johnny Glitter for a couple of years until eventually things went a little sideways with my buddy John and somebody he didn't get along with. And John decided he didn't want to be there anymore. And he was kind of like my, best friend and ally. And he's the reason I'm there. I'm like, well, if you're not going to be here anymore, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. And then that turned into, we could do this ourselves. So we did. And we opened up GSW, Garden State Wrestling at the time, because it was Jersey based. And then it became Grand Slam Wrestling. And we kept that company going all the way up until, I hate to say it, but February 29th, 2020. Yep.
COVID.
Yep. GSW John was pretty much ready to shut down anyway, but I think COVID just kind of put the exclamation point on it. But that was my main wrestling journey. And in that time, I got to do everything. I got to do ring announcing. I got to do commentary, both play-by-play and color, and just the third guy, which I don't know if the third guy's got a title, but I was the third guy a couple of times too. But no mask, because professional commentators don't wear masks on commentary.
Thank you for, oh my God, I just fell in love with you. I just fell in love with you. That irritates the hell out of me.
Yeah, not just you, buddy. But
and nothing against him, because when he calls his matches, he knows his stuff. but he's just irritating to watch.
A whole different argument there. But I got to do all the different announcing roles there are to do in wrestling. I got to referee a couple of matches. I got to be a manager. Got to manage Joey Image a couple of times on shows I don't even remember being on. And I got to work hole-in-the-wall indies in New Jersey, of which there are many. And I swear I would do like the third show for a company, and then by the fifth show, they didn't exist anymore. So like,
right.
So there's just like little snippets of me all over independent wrestling up until then. And then I didn't do anything until Three Legacies Wrestling came to Lancaster for that whole time. And I wasn't really sure I was ever going to get back into it again. But when opportunity presented itself, I decided to hop back in, and I got better acquainted with this side of Pennsylvania. And that's how I got to meet my friends at the SWO and SSW and still support my other friends all across the indies, including John Trotsky and Sanctuary and PPW and all the people out there that I'm always paying attention to and wishing luck. And now I'm seeing my friends branch out into other areas. So it's been a fun ride, and I will be the first one to admit I never did this to become anything famous in wrestling. I did it because I love wrestling, and I did it to just enjoy myself. So I've never wanted to like sit in somebody's spot where somebody's really trying to make it. And I am very fortunate to be in a position now where I can just give back. And that's all I do now is give back. And I tell the young wrestlers all the time, like, I will help you with anything that you need. If you want me to watch a match for you, I will watch it. I will give you all the proper critiques that I know that you need. I will tell you I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, do that better. I'm going to tell you what you're doing right and what I can see. Like, I can see potential in a lot of people, and I want to see everybody succeed. There's a lot of good people in wrestling, a lot of bad people too, but the good people, I'm really, really rooting for them. And I'm so happy and I'm so fortunate to be in that position now.
Dude, are you and I the same guy? Because, I mean, we've had similar journeys, and now at our point where we are now, I mean, yours started a little earlier than mine. Mine only started about 6 years ago, but you are at a point now where, you know, we're not doing this to try to end up calling matches on Monday Night Raw. We're doing this because we love the game and the passion for this business and getting involved. And like you said, using our knowledge of what we know about the business and also what we know about the history of the business to help out the young talent not go down certain rabbit holes and things like that. That's what turns me on now, is talking to a 21, 25-year-old talent who's just getting into this thing, and he or she really has like big aspirations and big dreams, and they're going to aim high at this thing because they love it. And we all do it. We're sitting here talking about this thing because we love it.
Absolutely.
And so, like, we all love it. So we all have that shared passion. So the conversations in the locker room are easy. It's like I've known these guys their whole lives. And then when the match is over, nothing gives me a bigger thrill than when they come over and they ask me, how was my match? I mean, that's awesome. Like, they give a damn about what my opinion was. Like, who the heck am I? But anyway, like you said, I want to do what I can. That's what this podcast has been all about for 6 years, is giving them a platform, maybe being seen by some other promoter and saying, hey, I like that guy or I like that girl. Maybe I should book that person. That's happened. And we've had people on this show that ended up on NXT. Like, if you remember a guy named Malik Blade, he was coming through the indies in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And I had him on around the Turnbuckle like 5 years ago, before he was Malik Blade. And he was wrestling under Joshua Dawkins, which is his actual name. He's the son of Dawkins, the famous basketball player for the Sixers. Daryl Dawkins, I believe. And so he was an absolute pleasure. And then when we saw him on NXT, like the professor and I, we were like so excited. We were like, oh my God, like, we just had him on a couple months ago. So I would text him because I friended him on Facebook, and he was like, Yeah, man, I really couldn't say anything, but thanks. Like, because I congratulated him on getting signed. Like that, there's no bigger thrill in my life than somebody that we know or met or knew personally or have seen wrestle or have interviewed or all the above make it as far as getting a signed contract to do this for a living.
I don't want to,
because otherwise you're just traveling around either the country or the globe and, just doing this wherever you can and just trying to get your name out there.
I don't want to mention any names specifically because I don't want to jinx their opportunities, of course, but I know a couple of people, and you'd probably know them too, who I know there are currently eyes on them right now, and I am rooting for them so hard because they're good kids, they're extremely talented, they're humble but still confident in their abilities, and they've got that right mentality and right attitude to make it far in this business. There's 3 names in particular I'm keeping a very close eye on. Yeah. And I'd say them on air, guys, but I don't want to jinx them because I don't know who's out there listening. So,
well,
yeah, I really
can you talk a little bit about Three Legacies? Because I have never been to a show. Because what happened was, a lot of times they would run the same day. I would be at another place or I'd be at another show, probably closer, and I don't get down to Lancaster that often. So, talk about that organization as a whole and what it's like to work with Jesus Rodriguez.
Three Legacies Wrestling is filling a void left behind by Lancaster Championship Wrestling. That was I don't want to say it was a very prominent promotion because it kind of stuck to where it was, whereas 3LW is looking to move around Pennsylvania. LCW had a pretty dedicated fan base, and they were running primarily at the old Lancaster Host Resort, which I worked at doing banquet setup when I first moved to Lancaster. So Jason Smith, who was the promoter and owner, he actually was, I think he was actually the head of the maintenance department for the resort. So he pretty much just stored the ring behind the curtains in the big ballroom that they had. But he had some pretty good shows. He had a good loyal following. And then he sold it off, and I don't remember the guy's name, but he was the Fox's Pizza Den guy, bought it. And then he went to prison for money embezzlement. So that was the end of LCW. Died in a whimper in the most promoter way possible, I feel like. Like that's such like a territory promoter, like an outlaw mud show type way to go. Right. Is, well, the company's dead because embezzlement hit the friggin' guy that ran it. Like, what's next? Tax evasion sends you to jail? Like, good Lord. So, Jesus ended up in Lancaster because he was in recovery, and that's not really a secret. He's very open about his addiction,
right?
And he,
I've met him. I've met him. I've talked to him. He did some shows for SWO.
Yeah, so he's very open about that, and he does a lot of these Night of Recovery events with other people who share their struggles with addiction too. So he had ended up here because of the recovery program, kind of settled in, and started his own wrestling promotion, which was called Three Legacies. Opened up a school on Centerville Road, and I had been trying to get something started in Lancaster for a little bit, but was not having any luck. I had contacted Phil Stamper a bunch of times, and he had tried and he wasn't having luck. So I was trying to talk to him about it. And then one day he messages me and goes, "Hey, maybe you don't have to try so hard anymore. Look." And he shows me this poster for this Three Legacies wrestling event in Lancaster. I'm like, I never heard of them. He goes, "Yeah, well, I think they just started." Okay. Right. So then I found out, wait a minute, that's Jesus Rodriguez, Ricardo Rodriguez in WWE.
Yeah.
I said, I didn't even know that he lived here. Like, I didn't know any of this stuff at the time. So I was like, well, I contacted the school and told them who I was. And he's like, yeah, come on down and check out the school and let's chat. So I did. And this is back when his school only had one student and he hadn't even turned down the wall yet. So his school was, the room was the size of the ring. So if you wanted to like go to the bathroom, you had to physically climb through the ring out the other side. But he eventually bought the building next door and kind of turned it into a whole, like, he's got an office, he's got a studio now. They've got multiple rings so he can do training in 2 rings at the same time.
Well, there you go.
So yeah, I introduced myself, told him who I was. I said, I will do anything, that you want for the company. I'm not going to like look for a specific role. You can be one of those deals where you kind of tell me what you think you'd like me to do. And he chose me for commentary. So we started doing live commentary at the 4th show. The first 3 were done in post. So we did the shows, and then Joey Image and I sat in the studio for about an 8-hour day one weekend. And we just recorded everything in post, and then we went out to dinner to celebrate. And then from then on, we've done live commentary, and I've gotten to really hone my commentary skills because I'm doing it regularly. A lot of the other times when I've done it in the past, there were a lot of one-offs, or this guy can't do it, so you're going to fill in, or just come and sit down and have fun. And then the company didn't exist the next month. So that happened a couple times.
Now, listen, the voice of SWO is my good friend, the Professor. And let me tell you something, man. Like, I love him. He will always be my partner. I still work with him for 3WA in Quakertown, but I had an absolute blast working with you at the Reynolds Rumble. And that was my last SWO show, which but it was an absolute blast. Like Professor couldn't make it, so you jumped right in there, and I thought we had a great time. It was a great event. The fans, obviously, that was my 3rd or 4th time doing commentary for it, and those kids get so loud for Mr. Andy / Ace Dallas. It's an electric atmosphere to call matches in, and it was an absolute pleasure to work with you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think we had a good time too, and I liked your dynamic because I've always enjoyed working with the heel commentator, and you've got what I think is the good balance for it because you're not being like overbearing,
right?
Like we're not bickering the whole time.
I don't want the show to be about me or us.
Yes, exactly. And
I want us to be like the cinnamon and the sugar.
Yeah, and that's fun. Like, a little bit of bickering and bantering is fine. And we had a little bit of natural stuff with that, but we still took the show seriously. And that's always been a fun thing for me with commentary. Cause God, I have seen some, I'm not going to call anybody out by name. Don't worry, guys. I'm not here to bury anyone, but I have seen some indie shows where the commentary is just garbage. And I've gotten the compliments I've always gotten are you speak clearly, you speak passionately, you tell the stories, and you don't put yourself over. And I have seen some guys who will get on that microphone and spend an entire show talking about themselves, cracking jokes at the wrestlers' expenses.
And in that aspect, you are just like the Professor in that way because you guys both similarly put the talent over. You're all about putting the talent over, not yourselves. And that's what I love about both of you guys because my job's easy. You guys are calling the play-by-play. You're calling what you guys see in the ring. My job is to throw in the spice whenever I get a chance to, or make a comment of, if something dastardly happens and you guys call it out and that is despicable or whatever, well, then I make an excuse about why that happened just to try to clarify it for you, just to make sure that he didn't mean to grab his leg. He saw that the laces in his boots were like loose and he had to tie it up. There's always a good reason why somebody cheats, Chris.
Always. But that's the fun about it. Wrestling is supposed to be fun. Like, yes, there's an aspect of taking it seriously because I like to do commentary as if what I'm seeing in front of me is a sport. That's always been the commentary I like. That's why I've always loved Gordon Soley and Lance Russell and Bill Mercer and old school Jim Ross. Now, Attitude Era Jim Ross is great too, but he doesn't get enough appreciation for his NWA and early WCW commentary.
And WCW comment. Yes.
Yeah. He really kills it. If you go back
Attitude Era Jim Ross, it was more like Stone Cold. Whereas when he was younger, he seemed to be more like you and Keith do it now. You and the Professor do it now, where it was more about enhancing the talent and not being so over the top Vince McMahon WWE commentator.
He got Vince
You know what I
McMahon
mean?
is basically what happened when he got there.
Right. And
But-
and that's exactly what happened. Without saying that, that's what I was saying.
But I also love Joey Styles because calling a show by yourself is very difficult, and I've done it before. It's not easy, but he's the guy to do it. If you go back and watch the really early ECW where it's just Joey before they would put other people in the booth, and I love Joel Gertner and I love some of those guys too, but like Joey by himself was a pinnacle example of how to do it by yourself. And I'm glad that I haven't had to do it that often, but I will do it if needed. But
you know what was so good about Joey? Often, not all the time, because it's often said that he did everything post. That's not true. He was live sometimes and sometimes he wasn't. Obviously, he was live for the pay-per-view. But if you watch an ECW pay-per-view from that era and then you watch a hardcore TV, you can't tell the difference. His excitement is the same. If he's doing it post or if he's doing it live, he sounds like he's doing it live. That's what's good about Joey.
Yes, agreed. Yeah. So yeah, that's always been my big thing with commentary is you can have fun with it. I'm not saying anybody out there can't go out there and have a good time. Like it's more authentic.
That's all I do now.
Yeah. But
I mean, I cut it down to one show, brother. I do one show a month, and it's the one that's closest to me, and that's the only reason why, because it's closest to me. If I could afford to, I would do more, but I now have a new job where I work 6 days a week, and so one Saturday a month for me at my age, I'm good with that.
Understandable, and I've cut back significantly too. I don't just go out and take bookings everywhere anymore like I used to because I'm too old for that too. And I have my own stuff going on. I've got my podcast and my streaming and everything. So
here's a comment I want you to see.
Yes.
This Zach that you said hi to earlier is my son, and he lives down in Florida. And he says, seeing my dad live out his dreams of this podcast, commentate, and ring announce makes me happy. I love everything that has happened throughout the years. Thank you.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you, buddy. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. Great comment, Zach. Absolutely. And
yeah, he's down in Florida. He lives outside of Tampa in Gulfport, Florida.
I love
thank you, Zachary.
When we realize the impact that we're having in our own little way, like that is to me the coolest thing ever. Is when you really realize the positive impact you've made on the fans. And I think that's something that I want all the young wrestlers to really take away from their time in wrestling is to think about what a positive impact you're making on these fans' lives just by going out there and being you.
Exactly.
I mean, we do some really cool stuff with wrestling. Like I've done tons of shows for charity and fundraisers and always had a blast with it. And I can't tell you guys right now, what's in the pipeline for Chris O'Mealy in the future. But when the time is right, I will tell you all. You'll all see it. If you're following me on social media, you'll all know. Trust me, I am very good at the self-promotion. So
if you want to follow Chris O'Mealy, just look him up on Facebook. And follow him right there. Are you on other socials too?
Yeah, I'm on all of them at Chris O'Mealy. I'm not hard to find, guys. Just look me up. Like,
follow him and keep track of that. And man, when that happens, I'd love to have you back and we could talk about it.
I'll be back every podcast.
Is there anything that we have not talked about that you would like to?
I want to just remind everybody out there, go out and follow your dreams and passions. That's the most important thing. I spend my time doing my own podcast, Chris O'Mealy's Universe. You can find me on Podbean. It's chrisomealy.podbean.com. But if you look for Chris O'Mealy's Universe on all the major podcasting sites, you will find it. I'm a Twitch streamer. The channel is currently called CKCC Online, which is an old branding that is being rebranded. But you follow the page, it'll translate over when I rebrand. But I do a lot of live streams. I'm doing a project right now where I'm playing through the entire Nintendo 64 library. But I play I play a lot of retro games, and sometimes we just hang out. And I am going to be launching a YouTube channel soon with some brand new content I'm creating. I'm trying to think if that's all the major plugs. I mean, I'm making artwork again. I'm doing Pokemon. If anybody out there's into Pokemon, I'm making Pokemon teams for people. I just
Nice.
made one for SWO ring announcer Sammy D. Fox, where
Oh.
she basically helped customize the card. I put it together and I sent it to her. I take a small commission for that, just for my time to put it together, but I'll make one for you. And I am an aspiring author. I am actually working on a book. I would love to have my first book published by the end of the year. I can't promise that's going to happen because my wonderful brain gets all over the place when I try to do anything. But
really, no, I know. I get it. I've tried to write a book several times about my passion for the business, which started quite simply, and I've mentioned this many times on this live stream. I was 8 years old and I was in the building when Roddy Piper hit Snook over the head with a coconut in the Hamburg
awesome.
Field House.
Yeah.
So my stepfather used to take me to wrestling whenever they were in Hamburg and or Allentown. And so that moment, I could pinpoint that moment of me being 50 feet away from Roddy Piper hitting him over the head is the reason why I root for the bad guys in movies. It's the reason why I root for heels in wrestling. It's the reason why I am who I am. I have been a fan of wrestling since I was, 5 years old. So we're talking 45 years. But that moment was where I fell in love with it. And did I ever think I was going to ever be a wrestler? No, I was never very athletically inclined. I did play some baseball, but so I never thought that route. I thought that I would get involved in it some way down the line. But after a while, I just kind of didn't, and then 6 years ago or so, like right post-pandemic, we're talking like right moving into 2001 or 2021. So late 2020, early 2021, I just met somebody who was involved with 3WA, and that led to my involvement with them, and it led to my involvement with SWO as well. And I've had a blast. I was SWO's ring announcer for 18 months. I loved every single minute of it. I wish I could still do it. Sammy does a great job. Sammy's gotten better. I remember Sammy when she first came in and was so nervous, and I was trying to give her some advice. And then Sammy, the first time you see her, which was like January of 2025, I believe, to Sammy now are two different Sammys. I'm telling you.
Absolutely. And I'll give you something to close out this interview with.
Yeah.
I have one goal left in professional wrestling. I want to have a match.
A wrestling match of your own that you wrestle.
A wrestling match of my own that I wrestle. And I don't care if it's a crappy manager match that goes 2 minutes and I get humiliated and I tap out and I cry at the end of it. As just want to have an official match on the books at some point. So
there you go.
I will hopefully get that to happen. And you mentioned Hamburg Fieldhouse. I've gotten Zembo Shrine under my belt now as a historic venue. God, I would love to work at the Hamburg Fieldhouse.
Yeah, I ring in. So I fell in love with wrestling there in 1984. And then my first ever gig as a ring announcer was there for Outbreak Wrestling.
That's awesome.
For Ryan Vox and those guys at the Legends of Hamburg event that they had, where they had wrestlers come in and sign autographs and things like that.
Cool. Yeah.
So that was my first ever ring announcer. And Kevin Kelly came up to me. I'll never forget it. And he goes, Are you okay? And I said, no, man, I'm really, really nervous. Like I was sweating and I was shaking. Yeah. And he said, if you're not nervous, you don't care. That means that the fact that you're nervous means you care. And I'll never forget that.
I still get it to this day. I still get it before we do anything live. And I hope feeling never goes away.
So this is David from earlier. He said, just watched Road to the Rumble, the Jeff Becker tournament. Brought tears to my eyes. You guys rock in what you do. Thank you, commentators. That the Road to the Rumble was before the Reynolds Rumble. So the Reynolds Rumble you and I did at the Reynolds Middle School live. The month before that was the Road to the Rumble. That was my last SWO at Seven Valleys with the Professor.
Yes.
So yeah, that was near and dear to my heart as well.
I was there for that too, but I
was
behind
Chris,
the scenes. I was music.
we got to have you back when your project gets rolling and when the book gets done and all that good stuff. But it's been a pleasure talking to you, brother. Around the Turnbuckle's back. This was my second episode. We had last week. We had Big Smoke. I'll be back next week with another guest. Our guest host, by the way, I'm allowed to out now right in front of Chris, was none other than Prince Piranha. So Prince Piranha, you know, you told me to out you right here and now, and I'm doing that right here and now for being our mystery co-host. That's who that was supposed to be. So, Chris,
yes, you weren't very hungry.
Have you ever crossed paths with Chris Piranha with Prince Piranha?
I have called many of Prince Piranha's matches. I'm very disappointed. He must be full instead of hungry.
He must be busy, but you know, the door's open for him, and I will have a new guest next week. Chris, it was an absolute pleasure, my brother. I hope everything works out for you, and to meet somebody as passionate about this as I am and as the professor is an absolute pleasure.
Yes, thank you for having me. I look forward to coming back. Take care, guys.
Love it. There he goes. That's Chris O'Mealy, the voice of Three Legacies. Okay, guys, I got about 20 minutes left here, and last week we talked about and voted upon so anybody watching us live, you guys can vote with your comments. We had 16 matches where we compared finishers. Some of them included like the Stone Cold Stunner versus the Tombstone, or I forget exactly what they were, but we had 16 and we narrowed it down to 8. So now we have 16 finishers, 8 matches right now. And I'm going to have you guys quickly vote about these because last week it took forever to get through them. But this week I'm going to kind of burn through them pretty quick. But I'm just going to go by popular vote, whoever's watching. So we're going to start off with the Rollins curb stomp versus the Stone Cold Stunner. Now, this conversation's happening, guys, because Obafemi wrestled Brock Lesnar at Clash in Italy, and I did not like the fact that he gave him 4 F5s and he kicked out of it, which I understood it to keep Oba strong, to not squash Oba. I get it. But finishers are not protected anymore. They are transitional moves. So I need you guys to vote. Rollins curb stomp versus Stone Cold Stunner. Who wins? And I will note who wins, and then we'll get down to the final 4. So we had 16 matchups. We have 8 matchups tonight. We're going to get down to the final 4 matchups next week, and we will crown the greatest finisher of all time. So if you guys can comment right now as to what you think is the better finisher between the Stone Cold Stunner and the curb stomp. Okay. Stone Cold, obviously. Thank you, Zachary. Anybody else want to weigh in? I'm just bringing up the notes. My vote is for Stone Cold as well, Zachary. My vote doesn't normally count. I usually save that for the end. Last week we had 3 or 4 different people voting, but if you guys are watching live, I'd like a comment of what you thought is the better, the Stone Cold Stunner or the Rollins' curb stomp, and we're gonna break that down next week. And this is the Around the Turnbuckle finisher tournament. Yep, David Stunner. Thank you, David. So yeah, it's unanimous there. The Stone Cold Stunner beats out the Rollins curb stomp. Okay, we'll go to the next one then. We're trying to get through these before the top of the hour, and it's 7:45. So bear with me here. The RKO versus CM Punk's GTS. Vote now. The RKO versus CM Punk's GTS. And they will make it into the semifinal round. The winning vote will make it to the semifinal round. Zach, what do you think, buddy? The RKO, Randy Orton's RKO, or the GTS. Okay. David's got RKO. Zachary, you in there? RKO. Oh, it's unanimous, boys. Thank you. There you go. So RKO beats out Punk. So RKO. Okay. Our next matchup in the around the turnbuckle finishers tournament is the F5 versus Roman Reigns' spear. Now, if you didn't see the first round, you can go back and watch episode 1, which features Big Smoke in the first 30 minutes, and then it features the first round of this around the turnbuckle tournament. You can see how we voted there. Chris Vant and Anthony did a great job of helping me with the votes. And in this case, Zachary says Roman Reigns and the spear. And David, you got to weigh in. And if it's a tie, if it's a 50-50 split, well, then I'll give you my opinion. Oh, spear. There it is. Yeah. The Atlas spear deadliner. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Evan Atlas. So Roman Reigns. Got it. Reigns' spear beats out the F5. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the zigzag. Dolph Ziggler's zigzag versus Hulk Hogan's leg drop. Zigzag got an upset victory in the first round. I believe they went up against the Honky Tonk Man's Shake, Rattle, and Roll, but I'm not exactly. No, they went up against the Coup de Grace by Finn Balor, and it was voted Dolph Ziggler zigzag. Nice. I love it. So Dolph Ziggler zigzag versus Hulk Hogan's leg drop. What do you guys think? Also, don't forget, guys, we had Chris O'Mealy on earlier. You can follow him on all your social medias at Chris O'Mealy. It was a pleasure talking to Chris. He is a wonderful individual and very passionate about this business, much like myself and the professor. We got to vote for the Hulkster. Way to go, Zach. Hulkamania is running wild. Look at that. Hulkamania is running wild. That's awesome. Okay. Hogan leg drop survives. Okay. So now, okay. So our next matchup is the Undertaker's Tombstone versus Jake the Snake Roberts DDT. And by the way, these two met each other at WrestleMania 8. And if you haven't seen that match, I know Dave probably has, but if you haven't seen that match, Zachary Tyler, you can go on Netflix and you can look up Undertaker versus Jake the Snake Roberts at WrestleMania 8, and bam, see that matchup. Now, we all know that the Undertaker won because it was part of the streak. But Jake the Snake gave him the DDT, and he was more worried about Paul Bearer, so he didn't follow up, or he might have pinned him. Who knows? He might have pinned the Undertaker, but Undertaker got the best of that one. But Undertaker's Tombstone pile driver versus Jake the Snake's DDT. And the DDT doesn't get any love anymore because it's like a transitional move in wrestling now, right, guys? I mean, you know, honestly. What do we got here? Jake the Snake's DDT, quicker and comes out of nowhere, less setup time, and deadlier. I agree, David. I agree. Oh, we got a dead heat. We got Undertaker versus Jake the Snake. I have to decide the vote here since I only got 2 of you voting. So, Zachary, I'm going to have to lean towards Jake the Snake's DDT. Only because with the Tombstone, like Dave said, you could see it coming. And when Jake delivered a DDT, nobody kicked out of it. The only reason why the Undertaker didn't lose that match is because he was more preoccupied with Paul Bearer. He didn't actually cover him after the DDT. But anytime Jake covered him with DDT, Undertaker, he tombstoned Shawn Michaels and he kicked out of it. And there was other people that kicked out of the tombstone. So Triple H, etc. So I'm going with Jake the Snake Roberts DDT on that one. Okay. Which is a transitional move that just doesn't get any love anymore. It's just, now it's a DDT. Okay. The Rock's Rock Bottom versus Drew McIntyre's Claymore. So we're going to note that the DDT moves on. Rock Bottom versus Drew McIntyre's Claymore. So Drew McIntyre's Claymore in the first round beat out the V Trigger by Omega, Kenny Omega, and then the Rock Bottom beat out the Bookend which is the same move but by Booker T. So like who did it better? It was voted at the Rock. So the Claymore is it's the more devastating move. I mean, I've seen guys kick out of the Rock Bottom before. I don't think I've ever seen anybody kick out of the Claymore. Zachary goes with the Rock Bottom. Zach, you're outnumbered. You're outnumbered again. Nothing against the Rock. I love the Rock. You know that. But the Claymore is more devastating move, I think. Okay. So our next matchup, and this is matchup number 7. We only got 2 more. There's 8 total matchups in this round. Nature Boy Ric Flair's figure 4 against the Walls of Jericho. Now, Ric Flair's figure 4 in the first round of this tournament beat out Charlotte's figure 8, which I disagreed with, but I was outnumbered by 3 different guys voting. Kurt was voting. The kids were voting. Kurt's kids were voting. AJ was voting. They all went Ric Flair on this. I love Charlotte, but Charlotte lost to her dad. Then the Walls of Jericho was up against I believe the Texas Cloverleaf by Dean Malenko, and Jericho beat him out. So it's Ric Flair versus Chris Jericho. Figure 4. Zachary likes the figure 4. Woo! Figure 4 with the win. I love it. All right, figure 4 beats out the Walls of Jericho. Okay, so we got one more, guys. One more in the Around the Turnbuckle's Best Finisher tournament. Rhea Ripley's Riptide versus Cody Rhodes' Crossroads. Rhea beat out the Manhandle Slam. And Crossroads beat out the Macho Man Elbow, believe it or not. Which, you know me, I love the Macho Man, but Crossroads is definitely the hot item right now anyway. But, Rhea Ripley's Riptide is a pump handle slam too, so it's pretty wicked. Ripping the Riptide. Riptide, I hate Cody. Okay. The Riptide wins. Got it, guys. Okay. So to recap the Around the Turnbuckle's Best Finishers tournament, the final 8 finishers are the Stone Cold Stunner, the Randy Orton's RKO, the Roman Reigns Spear, Hulk Hogan's Leg Drop, Jake the Snake's DDT, Drew McIntyre's Claymore, Ric Flair's Figure 4, and Rhea Ripley's Riptide. Those are the final 8. So we will have those semifinal votes next week. Guys, if you are watching this on replay, please try to tune in live next Sunday at 7 o'clock. I will have a new guest right here on Around the Turnbuckle, and we will continue this tournament until we get a winner. I did not want to stretch it over 4 shows, so we are going to vote, and then we're going to go right to the finals and see who wins the Around the Turnbuckle's Best Finisher tournament, because I think finishers plain just need to be protected. But in the meantime, you can follow us on Facebook, on Around the Turnbuckle Facebook page. You can join the Around the Turnbuckle Facebook group. You could also check out 2M1L Media Facebook page, and you can check out the YouTube channel, our YouTube channel. You can subscribe, you can share, you can check out old episodes featuring the professor as my co-host. Will I have a mystery co-host next week? I don't know. But Prince Piranha, thanks so much for showing up. He told me to say that. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for Around the Turnbuckle. My thanks to everybody that watched live and participated in the voting, and my thanks especially to Chris O'Mealy for coming on here, the voice of 3 Legacies. We will be back next week with a brand new show. For Chris O'Mealy and the absent Prince Piranha, I'm Big Al. This was Around the Turnbuckle.
You think you know me?
Oh yeah! If you smile.
Calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
You think you know me?
Oh yeah! If you smile.
Calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.